All right, welcome everybody. We're really excited to speak to you today about Fastlane. What Fastlane is we are introducing a new checkout solution. It's going to be a high-speed, or it isn't a high-speed checkout, guest checkout. What we've done is we've taken PayPal's network vault and we are utilizing it. So we have 171 million eligible profiles that are eligible to be recognized and accelerated with Fastlane. We are able to use their payment tokens and saved addresses on file to autofill the guest checkout experience and move people along really quickly with high conversion. But what I found is the best way to explain what Fastlane is to show it. So here we have what our Fastlane experience is for someone who's already used Fastlane before. They will come here, they will click on the unbranded checkout button, they'll input their email, and then here they'll be recognized in the Fastlane network, and they'll be sent a one-time passcode via SMS to log in. Once you've logged in, it's as easy as checking out in one click. You'll see that you have shipping address auto-filled, your debit card auto-filled, and then you can move right through and complete your checkout. Why we built Fastlane is we went out and we observed friction points both for consumers who are trying to purchase and also what our merchants were telling us. And what we found is that it takes much longer to get through checkout than people were expecting. They also had way more steps to take where they have to re-enter their payment details, and they were done with small buttons and slow loadout times. So we looked and we saw how many people are experiencing this problem. And what we found was that about 37% of users prefer to use guest checkout, at least most of the time or always. And if we lowered that criteria down to sometimes or more, that number was 84%. So it's quite a sizable population of users who, for whatever reason, are clicking guest checkout. They're not using an alternative payment method to be accelerated through. So then we said, okay, well, what are the conversion rates for those users who use guest checkout? And on a desktop, it's about 50% of the time. And on mobile, it's 44% of the time. So what you're looking at is a coin flip for your consumer who goes through and says, hey, I want to use, I'm just going to go through manual data entry and check out as a guest. How can we make that better? How can we use the power of the PayPal network to accelerate this checkout flow that your users are gravitating towards and make it so that their conversions increased? We use that experience that we just showed you. And the results that we're seeing so far is we're seeing about a 50% conversion rate improvement for users that are going through and accelerating using Fastlane versus users that are not accelerated. And then we're also seeing a 16% acceleration rate, meaning 16% of the users that do click on that guest checkout button are using Fastlane today. The other problems that we were trying to deal with were poor customer experiences because of that slow checkout. Because it's taking too long, we were seeing high drop-offs, there were time-consuming sign-ups, and also sometimes unnecessary steps or distraction during that checkout. When we talked to our customers, we found that most think that they should be checking out in 4 minutes or less, and 45% of customers agree that they have not made a purchase because that either website account registration or the purchase flow itself was too complicated. So what we're aiming to do is speed that up. By autofilling that checkout, your consumers are going to save as much. They can check out in as little as 2 minutes. Depending on your checkout flow, that's about 35% faster than someone who's non-accelerated. So here we have a couple of different flows. The first flow I showed you is somebody who had used Fastlane is ready to be accelerated today. But we also recognize users who have never used Fastlane before. So they could be users who are in the PayPal network. But we go through the exact same flow that you just saw, where someone is going to add something to their cart, and then they're going to click checkout. And then once they put their email in, this is a user who might not have used Fastlane before, but we recognize them in the PayPal network, and it's just one more screen where we find that we've put some intentional friction here to prime the user and let them know. They can see their masked phone number here, so they are confident that we've recognized the correct identity. And then once they receive that SMS OTP code, that the rest of the process is the same as the first flow I just showed you, where they go to your checkout page, they'll see their shipping details and their payment details, and they'll be able to pay in as little as one click. In addition to that, we're able to onboard some of your customers who might not be recognized so that for a subsequent purchase, they would then be recognized. Here we see someone who is not recognized in the Fastlane network or in PayPal. They put their email in, and then they would go through that exact same checkout process that they would go through today. The one difference being right here, where after they input their card details, they'll be able to opt into the Fastlane network with just leaving that toggle on and completing the payment. So now all the information that is used in this checkout is going to be used to create a Fastlane profile, and then they'll be able to, the next time they come to a Fastlane powered checkout, be recognized and be able to use Fastlane for that one-click checkout experience. The last user experience we want to show you that's live today is the ability to change between payment information. So it's not just that first card that someone has that's recommended that is available to a Fastlane user. So once they authenticate in, we will select that first card and hope to inform that first one-click checkout process. But if they have other saved addresses in their profile, they'll be able to select between any of those saved shipping addresses, any of those cards, and then move forward to pay with whatever information that they'd like to. So that's the product that we have out and available today to be integrated, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have with the integration. But today we also wanted to show you what's next for Fastlane, what's going to be either live now that's a change since the last time we spoke, or will be coming soon. So I'm going to hand it off to Trini to move forward.
So hey guys, so I take care of the international track for Fastlane. So right now, as you saw, whatever has been built, it has been built for the US consumers, US merchants. But now we are in the process of migrating this, or basically enabling Fastlane to be used by merchants and consumers throughout the globe, right? So as part of this, there are multiple challenges, right? So since checkout and payments are a highly regulated industry, we need to ensure that whatever we build for the local markets, they are localized in the appropriate languages. We have all the regulatory approvals. We have all the functionalities which need to be available over there. So those are all the things which we are catering to as part of the international track. And if you look at our plan for country expansion, we have United Kingdom and Australia to be launched late this year. UK is already a pilot right now with, I guess, 5 merchants or so. The numbers are all looking good, but Australia is going to be a fast follow-on. Beyond that, we have the FRITS, which is France, Italy, Spain, Austria, and along with Canada, which is going to be an early 2026 launch, early next year, followed by the rest of the year will follow the year, later on in 2026. Now, talking about capabilities, right? So yeah, you have all the localization and all those things, but then we have regional capabilities like in the EU. You have 3DS, which is an SCA or a strong customer authentication requirement. So that's something which we are building for EU. Similarly, in markets like Australia, we have this concept called as EFT POS, which is a local network just like Visa or MasterCard. So whatever we are building, we're ensuring that, yes, the merchants and the consumers over there have the greatest experience of checking out with whatever local payment methods and stuff they have on their site. Okay? Similarly, on the platform side, we are also investing on BYOP, which is Bring Your Own Processor. Right now, what our Fastlane caters to is all checkout processing within the PayPal ecosystem, which is Braintree and ACDC or PayPal ACDC, if you guys know. But then BYOP ensures that we can leverage the Fastlane capabilities outside our PayPal ecosystem. Similarly, we have loyalty accounts coming in, which is being built in the US. So that also will be launched as and when we have good numbers or good readings coming in from the US side. Okay. That said, happy to answer any questions later on, but moving on or giving out to Adam, who's going to give us an intro on BYOP.
Awesome, thanks Trini. Hi everyone, I'm Adam. My charter is focused on bringing processor agnostic solutions to Fastlane. So this morning, I was looking for some nice little slide art, and I was like chat GPTing, like make me a picture with Gumby with a Fastlane t-shirt on, because that's really what Bring Your Own Processor does for our integrations, right? It makes integrations super flexible to meet the bespoke needs of our biggest, most complex merchants who have their own bespoke processing setups. So a couple of the key friction points that we're trying to solve here. We know that every merchant doesn't process with PayPal or Braintree, so how can we allow those merchants to use that awesome customer experience that we've created for guest checkout and loyalty accounts, but process with the processor of their choosing and process it in their own way. That's the biggest thing that we're trying to solve with Bring Your Own Processor. But that comes with some complexities, right? Like some merchants don't want to touch credit card data. They don't want to add additional scope to their PCI burden. Other merchants are very comfortable, and clients are very comfortable with like credit card data. So we need solutions that will work for both of those situations. We know that merchants have merchant-initiated transaction use cases, like the stored credential use cases. I want to vault my customer data and use it in a subscription model. Like we need to be able to support that. And then the other thing is integration overhead. Development resources are expensive, so how can we make a very lightweight solution for you, the enterprise merchant, or SMB, right, to implement Fastlane and not have to have the development overhead of changing my processing setup. And that's what we've done. So you'll see the three main ways that we have of supporting Fastlane on a Bring Your Own Processor type setup. The first is through your PSP. We've partnered with several large payment service providers where they will be basically gray label offering Fastlane to their merchants. So if I am a small or medium-sized business, right, I have a full stack processing with my processor who offers Fastlane, I can enable Fastlane directly through that payment service provider. The next is through e-commerce platforms. A lot of SMBs also use e-commerce platforms, even some enterprise merchants as well. So if we have if my e-commerce platform offers Fastlane, that's another like gray label type solution where we can provide Fastlane to you, and however you process through your e-commerce partner, we'll be able to do that even if the e-commerce partner isn't PCI compliant or you as a merchant is not PCI compliant. And the third is most important for enterprise merchants. You can come to us. You can, without signing a processing agreement, you can integrate with Fastlane directly. You can take advantage of the great consumer experience, but not make any real changes to your processing setup, which I think is obviously very important. A lot of enterprise merchants have very bespoke setups that they've worked years to optimize their own payments funnels and their own payments processing, and we don't want to necessarily get in the way of that. So you are a BYOP candidate. If you don't process with PayPal or Braintree, you process with multiple providers, one of which could be us, maybe it's not, or you orchestrate payments through your e-commerce partner, right? So any of those situations, which should cover pretty much every merchant out there, can actually leverage Fastlane, which is really exciting. And then the last thing I'll say is you don't need to worry. Like you can orchestrate Fastlane payments with your existing providers, multiple providers. You don't need to change your scope for PCI scope. If you don't want to handle credit card data, you don't have to. You can vault Fastlane payment credentials. When we accelerate a customer, you can create those billing agreements. You can have subscription use cases. And then you can implement Fastlane without the overhead of changing your processing setup. So it's very lightweight and easy to use. So it's pretty exciting. If you guys have any questions about this or like specific solutions that we can help you out with, if you're looking to integrate with Fastlane, please let us know. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Dwanish. She's going to talk about loyalty accounts.
Thanks, Adam. So I'm Dwanish. My charter is mainly focused on solving a really important problem for our merchants as it relates to their loyalty account programs. As Michael mentioned, this is a pretty big year for Fastlane, and one of the ideas we're most excited about is positioning Fastlane as an identity product upstream of checkout. And this is our foray into that. A little bit of background here. When we say loyalty accounts, we're really referring to any account with a merchant that allows you to basically store shipping, contact, payment information, and also gain some benefits that typical guest users may not gain. And the idea for this really came from our merchants directly. Here at Fastlane, we like to kind of work backwards from our customers, starting with our merchants, partners, and consumers. When we talk to merchants and we ask them problem areas with their business that they feel Fastlane is uniquely positioned to help with, they always mention loyalty accounts. And when it comes to loyalty accounts, we mentioned 3 areas specifically. Number 1 is getting more users to actually sign up for loyalty accounts. Number 2 is getting users who have loyalty accounts to actually use those loyalty accounts. And number 3, once the user is signed into that loyalty account, how do they make sure that payment there is up to date and fresh and not stale? So taking that feedback loud and clear, the next question obviously was, how do we build a solution that both merchants and consumers will love? And so we went directly to the consumers and we asked them that, why don't you create a loyalty account? Or when you have an account, why don't you use it? And here's what we found. From consumers directly, about 50% of users who had an account with a merchant actually prefer to still check out as a guest. This is a pretty surprising insight for us. I feel like most of us in this room may relate to that as well. What consumers typically said, at least 50% of consumers said, was that they do this because it requires them to remember the password. Sometimes they don't remember it. It's an old account, and they have to go through a forgot password flow, which just feels like a lot more friction than is really required when you're just trying to make an order. Other common reasons for this was they just feel like guest checkout feels faster, it feels more convenient. And apart from just signing into accounts, we also ask consumers why they don't really create loyalty accounts of merchants. The most common reason was that they felt like account creation can be pretty complex. It requires too much information. Sometimes the juice really isn't worth the squeeze. Maybe the benefits just aren't there and the sign-up flow is just too long for that. One way some merchants like to get around this is by kind of forcing account creation. Unfortunately, what happens is this may come right at the time when a user is getting ready to check out. And that's the last thing you want as a merchant when a user is trying to place an order, is adding an extra step or adding more friction right there. And so 46% of our users said they would really abandon a purchase if they were forced to create an account before placing it. And then lastly, this kind of addresses the third point that merchants were concerned about, which is consumers were actually more likely to give fake information when they were forced to create a store account. And about 17% of our consumers in the survey actually said they would do that if they had to create an account. So now we have feedback from both merchants, consumers. How do we actually build something that both sides love? We broke it out into 2 separate solutions. The first one being, how do we accelerate the account sign up or the account creation process? And the second one being, how do we get users to sign in a way that doesn't require a password and feels just as fast as guest checkout? So the first one I'll show you is the loyalty account creation solution that we have. I'll walk through the flow in the next slide, actually, so everybody can kind of see how this actually looks to a consumer. So we start with a merchant's store account sign-up page. Typically, merchants will require you to enter an email, phone number, your full name, password. Sometimes some merchants may also ask you to enter a shipping address and payment information so that you're ready to use that information when you place your first order. In this example, the user enters their email in the email component, and we recognize that A, they don't have an account already with this merchant, and B, that they are a Fastlane member. And this isn't just limited to Fastlane members. It can also be PayPal account holders who are eligible to create a Fastlane profile as well. Once they receive that OTP, we go ahead and populate the information for them on the sign-up page. In this case, we populated the email, phone number, name, and then the user can still enter a password just as a backup or recovery if the merchant isn't integrated with our sign-in solution. And then the merchant also gets access to a default shipping address and payment method for the user that they can vault in that loyalty account for the user, so that when they come to checkout, they don't have to worry about anything. They're ready to go and place that first order, and so merchants really get that boost on that first conversion after the account's created. We felt like this solution is really great for consumers, obviously, because again, it accelerates the process. There's no need to go manually entering your information here. It also benefits merchants, and like I said, that first conversion after the account is created really gets accelerated. Now, coming to the next solution, which is really how do we get users to use those loyalty accounts that they just created. So in this case, we have a user who now has an account with this merchant. They come back to the site after a little bit of time. They enter in their email, and we recognize them as A, having an account with this merchant already, and B, having a Fastlane profile. And again, this could also be an example of a user who doesn't have Fastlane profile but may be eligible to create one using their PayPal information. We send the user an OTP. They enter it, and then you'll notice here that the user is going from not being signed in to automatically being signed into their account on this merchant site, all without requiring a password. And so this solution is meant to kind of feel just as fast, or if not faster than guest checkout, because now all the user has to do is enter the OTP, which they would do with Fastlane anyway as a guest user. and they have all their information available to them at checkout. They can place the order really quickly and be done with the process. An additional benefit of this solution for both merchants and consumers is that we are able to give users the option to select from information that's vaulted in the account with the merchant as well as with Fastlane. So if you have different cards that are stored in both accounts, we can show them in a single view. Merchants can set the default card to be any card that might be more rewarding for the user when they're logged in with their account. But the user does always have the option of using another card that's stored with Fastlane. And so those are our two solutions to really kind of position Fastlane as an identity product more upstream and provide the benefits for our merchants and consumers when it comes to loyalty accounts. And with that, we'll open it up for any questions.
Thanks, everybody. Just to review, Fastlane right now today, we have that guest checkout solution that we showed you up top. We have some exciting international expansion that Trini referred to. We have bring your own processor that Adam was talking about, and then we also have loyalty accounts, and we'd love to address any of your questions on any of that presentation. Yes?
We're international. If we that a user is in one of the countries that's not participating and we're calling the same Fastlane it got, we just get them, they're not participating.
So we don't recognize the user, we don't onboard the user, it just falls back to the regular guest experience.
And
so the SDK just is smart enough to figure that out, and then the merchant just takes the consumer through the guest experience, whatever they have right now.
And then as you turn on countries, do we have to reintegrate?
No.
Or when we send the same thing?
Automatically we just open up those countries, and those consumers will start onboarding, start seeing the Fastlane experience. Everything is controlled from our side.
And just in case anybody couldn't hear, he was asking if you have consumers in a country that's not already there, will they have to make integration changes? And she was just telling you that would come.
Yeah, so right now we have in the US the same merchants. If they have consumers in the UK, automatically it just opens up for them.
Awesome. Yes?
Is the OTP only sent through text? As another country, the text is not the first way to get out.
Great. So we have SMS OTP today, but we have plans for passkey and other authentication mechanisms that could be more suitable in international markets. And those
email is one, device fingerprinting is the other one. Yeah, we are investing on the other things. Yeah. So right now we don't have an issue with that for when we go for the immediate next countries, but as and when we go on to the tail end countries, yes, OTP is, consumers might get charged for the OTP, they need another authentication factor. We are on that, yep.
Yes?
The question is related to the guest checkout flow. You shared one metric on the sign-up speed. Are there any other metrics that you could share related to like conversion rate improvements or like cart abandonments?
We do. We had this slide here. So in terms of conversion rate improvements, what we're seeing is, the 16% number is how many users are using Fastlane, and then of those 16% number, what we're observing is a 50% increase to the ones that use it versus those that don't. Yeah, no worries. Yes, in the back.
One of the things that we've seen a lot of the app switch when it comes to mobile that's coming out there. How is that going to force with Fastlane? Ideally, Fastlane would be on checkout itself, the product page or cart. So which way is it going to function whenever that gets released?
Are you talking about PayPal app switch in terms of authentication mechanism? Yes. Got you. So his question was, how will this work with the app switch for PayPal? So Fastlane is actually outside of PayPal in terms of the PayPal app. We have the PayPal network, which is those users who click on that light blue button and go through and get that branded experience that they know and love. And then that's processed where PayPal is the merchant of record. This is outside of that. Essentially what we're trying to do with Fastlane, and I'm really happy you asked this question, is that what we're trying to do with Fastlane is we're trying to use the power of that PayPal network, but also have it be processed on Braintree or PPCP or whichever processor you would like. But some of the trade-offs there is we're not going to be a part of the PayPal application yet, where we'll do that app switch and check in. Instead, what we'll do is we'll have our SMS OTP as our authentication mechanism. In the future, some of our plans are being closer to uniting that, but it's difficult to say when that will happen. Sure. Yes?
So you mentioned that like any PSP processor, does this mean card schemes? Or does it mean because all of these payments will go to PayPal eventually?
Nope. Yeah, so this is just credit. This is credit card processing. So if I'm a merchant and I process credit cards with a provider that's not PayPal related, I can do that with Fastlane with Fastlane transactions as well.
So like any like 401k, ADI.
Yep.
Yep.
Sure. Yes, another question.
It seems like it functions well like bulk checkout, as far as like the more people adopted more networks that you could use or use it on one store, you can use it on the other.
Correct.
Is there going to be a specific sign-in flow for the Fastlane, like as the account creation, so the store owner or the merchant is able to capture that customer's information?
Yes. So that was what Dwanish was covering. So we can touch on that a little bit more. So what we're hoping to do, and that's what we were calling loyalty accounts. So it could be, you could think of it as this merchant is called merchant.com. But when I go to merchant.com to buy these leggings, they might ask me, hey, do you want to sign up for an account at merchant.com? Maybe it's to vault payment. Maybe there's additional values. Maybe I offer free shipping for my merchant account holders. But for whatever reason, merchants, and I don't need to tell you, they find it very valuable because there's opportunities for nurturing a consumer relationship. You can have targeted advertisements and emails. There's also a ton of like high value actions, right? I can bookmark things, and what you want is somebody who signs up that account because generally these are higher lifetime value customers for you. So what we're trying to do with this flow is say, let's take the power of that Fastlane network and the PayPal network broadly, and the first metric we're optimizing for is your account creation rate. So the number of people who start the sign-up process, the number of people who finish the process, we want that to be completed. And the other really cool part about this is as soon as that create account button is clicked, you've created not just an account, but a payment-ready account. You have a token that you can charge, and you have a shipping address you can autofill, so that first transaction that someone takes as a member is going to be just like a Fastlane accelerated checkout transaction. So it's the same problem we're trying to solve on the guest checkout side, where that first transaction has tons of manual data entry, and there's tons of friction that's applied, and we're trying to say, how do we stop the madness there and autofill everything that we can, and then make it as close to a one-click checkout process as possible, and you'll get that for this first transaction with your member.
And in both cases, we're not taking over your checkout or your loyalty account sign up. We are giving you the data to accelerate your experience
Correct.
for the consumer.
Yeah.
Yes. The existing PayPal users sort of already enrolled in Fastlane, or do they have to opt in to somehow separately?
Excellent question. So you have to be eligible to use Fastlane in order to get this experience, but that was the second one that I showed. So we do a check, right, to say, can we deliver a one-click checkout experience via Fastlane for this? So you need to have an SMSable phone number, for example, so that we can send you that login code. You have to have a card on file. It can't just be, we can't use bank today, so it needs to be a card. And we need to have a shipping address that we can autofill for you. There's a few more checks, like risk checks and things like that. But once we deem that you are a PayPal account in a state that's ready to check out in one click with Fastlane, that's when we give you this experience. You'll click that black checkout button because for whatever reason you're not clicking on a branded experience, and then you're identified here where you can opt into the Fastlane. So you can request that code being sent. Some of the reasons for this is UX. We want to prime the user so that it's an experience that they haven't experienced before, and it's also one that they kind of haven't asked for explicitly. They're getting offered this better way, and we want to make sure that they know what they're getting. And then once they opt into this and they put that code in, they've also now created a Fastlane profile. So the next time they come at maybe the merchant that they signed up for or any other merchant, they'll be able to get that automatic SMS OTP where they just breeze right through and put it in.
So a good portion of the existing PayPal accounts, I think they have the mobile phone number or primed, and then the first merchant that they go to, they opt in, and the ones they've opted in, subsequently it just works.
You got it. Yeah.
Yes.
And from the moment you get this text code, the journey is more or less the same, right? We send you an OTP and then you put it in and you're through. So when you think about it, it's just one more screen, but that one screen is very important because you know what you're asking for now instead of you're like, why did I just get this code? Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. Yes, in the back.
You can go back to the previous straight. I want to say something. Okay, so check. there's no framing on there that Fastlane has been implemented until you click checkout, right? So and I'm thinking, to find the user who's worried about like the whole lengthy, you know, checkout process, I just want to be a guest. I'm not sure if I would even select, spend checkout, but if you pop up an email address, I just do, I don't want to go through the process. Yeah, I'm wondering, how do we to notify the user that this is potentially a faster, more seamless, less friction experience?
Yes, great question. So we do have some branding underneath the email field here. If you hover over that I, we explain to you what Fastlane is and what that process is. So, but that's what we're trying to get all the users who, there's similar networks out here where they can autofill this, but part of the problem today is there's a bit of a NASCAR problem where, when there's so many of them, maybe you might select none of them, but for whatever reason, they're not clicking on any of those other ones. And what we've tried to do with Fastlane is say, we still can give that, we can offer that to you. Common problems are, I forgot my password. And we have done so many things to make a passwordless PayPal experience, right? It's an SMS. But in order to get those experiences, you need to click on it and know that those experiences are coming. So there's this like selection friction that we're getting at. But this would be your manual data entry flow. Like this is your guest checkout flow. So if someone wants to check out with you, this is their default or their way forward without one of those networks. So one of the cool parts about Fastlane is that we don't really need to explain it to you because we get the opportunity to identify you and then deliver this experience. Whoops, sorry about that. And deliver this experience. If you don't want to, this experience is designed to be as frictionless as possible, meaning if you tap on the X or you click anywhere in that gray area, you're just going down the path that you would have anyways. So our goal here is to accelerate you and get you a premium conversion or get the heck out of the way and have you do exactly what you were doing before. Any more questions? Yes?
So like, we said about this different PSPs. So you showed, and we're in this video, you have to find whether there's credit card sponsored.
Yes.
So if there's a credit card vaulted, it means that it's sponsored PayPal.
Within a Fastlane profile.
Within a Fastlane profile, correct.
Does a token work in any PSP or it just works on?
Yeah, so the way this will work is the SDK will give you what we call a Fastlane token. And then there's a couple of things you can do with that token. You can either process with Braintree or PayPal, or you can take that token and get a network token and cryptogram that can be processed with any provider of your choosing.
So how do you get a network token?
You make an API call to us to do
separate
to do a token exchange. So when the consumer completes the checkout experience, if you know that you're going to process this externally, you'll get a network token from us and go process that.
So it basically becomes a network token that you can use in different PSPs.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, just kind of following up on that, yeah, we was posted. The card, is it a current full on the PayPal wallet? How does a card get loaded into the Fastlane profile? What's that part of the name code?
Great question. So when you were asking your question before about the opt-in, so if and I'll go to that slide again. When I am an eligible PayPal member and I get this experience, what you're doing is we're requesting a code, and then you get the next screen after you request the code shows that you are, by entering the code, you're creating a Fastlane profile and agreeing to the Fastlane terms and conditions. At this moment, what we're doing is we're taking a one-time copy of that Fastlane, or of the PayPal wallet and everything that's in it, and we're copying it over so that it is in a Fastlane profile now. So all those tokens will now live in that Fastlane profile, and that's what we will be giving to you once they authenticate in and you get that Fastlane response.
So this is one way. Beyond that, the consumer might want to add new cards. So as and when the consumer adds a new card on Fastlane, his Fastlane profile starts growing up, and those tokens also get added and can be used for the BYOP program.
Is it, if you added some Fastlane, does it automatically calculate in your PayPal?
Today, no.
No.
but that is the direction that we're heading in, yes. Yeah, no worries. We have tons of time.
Ask
Yeah.
away, yeah.
Cards that are synced when they're updated, Visa or MasterCard and they have to enter new card numbers. Does Fastlane take care of?
Yes. Yeah. So all these cards are tokenized with the issuers or the networks. As and when the expiry changes or you refresh the card, we get that event on our side. We keep the cards ever refreshed.
Okay, so there will be no downtime for customers.
Nope.
Correct.
Nope.
And if you show like the last four in the card art in your consumer experience, and you've like vaulted a Fastlane card before, you can subscribe to a webhook to make sure that you're like getting the most up-to-date last four to show your consumer.
For recurring payments, we can then use it probably every month to our subscription side, or is there no limitation?
There is no limitation. And with subscription payments, you don't need to come back to us for a cryptogram. So there's, yeah, it works.
The merchant can vault it
pretty easy.
and can use it for subscriptions.
Yep.
Yes.
You guys explored any use cases around break-around email integrations. So, having a merchant, I already have a bunch of accounts, but a lot of those accounts don't have payment methods already on file. Have you guys done any research or planned into, something where we could, in back end, we already know they use email fest-based site. We get every red side so that it's Fastlane to it, not in the profile, and we don't, present them as some kind of experience, and we can give them that quicker checkout.
Yeah, so that's exactly what the flow we're showing here with the account creation and the login, right? So for example, if you're trying to just sign a user in to an account that they already have with you, so let's say, for example, a user comes to your site, they enter in that email, the first check you'll do is say, does this user have an account with me already? If yes, then you can also call Fastlane and say, does the user also have a Fastlane profile? If yes, then we'll send the OTP to the user. They can enter the OTP, and because those emails match and we know this user is who they say they are, we will log them into that account.
So that is a little bit different with at least the sign-in. Saying the user's already, signed into their account, they just don't have a payment method on file.
Yep.
We want to check in the background to see when they're making a subscription purchase, let's say, or a product purchase, to see if they have a Fastlane profile without having to enter their email.
You can do the lookup if you have the email, and then you could call the SDK, and then that can deliver the Fastlane login experience, and then you have the exact same result of that superset of whatever cards you might have vaulted. If you don't vault, then the Fastlane cards, but if you have something vaulted, it would be that superset that you see on the last image.
The last slide.
Could that be done without having the OTP go to the consumer?
So that kind of more or less gets to, he was asking if that can be done without the OTP going to the consumer. That gets to the authentication improvements that we have planned. There's a world where, like what Trini was mentioning, there's email OTP, there's device fingerprinting. So there's a few different ways we can go about it. But if there's a place where we have that identity and that authentication already and high confidence, it could happen. But right now, I just want to be clear that it would be an SMS OTP.
I guess I was just building on the question that was just asked.
Yeah.
More about if we wanted to sort of pre-qualify our account base.
Yeah.
So we might want to say run, 10 million email addresses through and say, oh, these 6 million are part of this. Later we can optimize the experience.
Gotcha. I understand what you're saying. So
if you send OTP when we run 10 million, that's to be like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah. I mean, there are ways of doing it. Sometimes it's like a security code to verify your identity before I show your payments or something like that, because your session has been long. But I hear what you're saying. You've already authenticated your user, especially there's like a native app use case here as well, right? Because usually when you log into a native app, your authentication lives for a long time. Today, the Fastlane authentication lives for about 15 minutes. Before we would need to re-authenticate. And
yeah, so what are you told is possible, that one, we need to ensure that we have the identity of the consumer, right? Like, as a merchant, the merchant has an email, a consumer, and we also need to authenticate that consumer on our side. Once that is done, we for sure know that yes, or the merchant will know that yes, this is that consumer, and then they can store a link or a token or something on their site so that the next time on, you can get that consumer in without an authentication. So it's all, there are few risk checks and all those things which we need to do there. Not in the immediate plan, but yes, as of now, it's going to be individual OTPs which we set.
Yeah. Yes, sorry, in the back was first, but you can go after. Yes.
Since following this thread, how are you guys thinking about sort of pre-signups or allowing plus utility. I thought this demo was actually going in this direction where you could almost go to the merchant, figure out what email address that they have where payment credentials are not well. Almost as a marketing campaign, and assuming that they are ASAP users, go out to them and say, so, you have accounts at a bunch of merchants that we have agents, but do you want to sort of some authenticate or create your Fastlane profile now before you even go to an e-commerce site? Is that
We've discussed something similar. I would love to get your email after this session. So step one is build the flows where they're seamless and they can authenticate at the time of the job to be done. Right now, I want to check out. How do I make it so that this job to be done as easy as possible and that creating this account adds little to no friction in what it is? So we've shown you the guest flow where there's that toggle at the end. They can create there. They can create from a Fastlane profile where they request that code. The next step is going to be outside of checkout. It's going to be how do we do email campaigns. We have a profile management portal that you can go to today, and you can go to fastlane.paypal.com and sign up for one before your next checkout. So we do have plans for outside of checkout. It just comes down to where it is at the roadmap. Yeah. Yes. Oh, sorry, you had your hand up before that. Yes.
my long same lines of, but I have the email from the accounts that are created. I want to check and see if they do qualify. Like I enable Fastlane for merchant. I want to go through their emails, see if they have Fastlane accounts. Send those people emails, say, hey, we recently partnered with Fastlane and PayPal. My friend did a campaign going there. Here's like a 10% off U5 to come check out, kind of get that flow started. Is that something we could check without requiring the authorization code?
It wouldn't require the authorization code to see who
So
has a
basically,
Fastlane
yeah.
profile?
So
Yes.
Emails we have a file that they best in it. And it is, or they found connect the two and go ahead and get that process started. And kind of give them the incentive to come to the store and purchase waiting for the store.
Yeah, if that's something that we can do.
It should be possible because right now, when you give the email, it's a lookup call to us, right? So, and then, we can give back an indicator saying that, yes, do we know this consumer or not? The OTP is a next phase on the SDK. So that's, we don't have that endpoint capability, I think, so you need to expose that. Others, our rate limiters might flush you out, but it's something which you can do.
Well, we'll and it doesn't automatically kick off the OTP.
They're exclusive, correct? Yeah,
We have to take another step to pick up the OTP. Again, okay.
because we give you a thumbs up or thumbs down, right? Like this is
The thumbs down, there's no reason to.
right. You're just going to show them your guest checkout experience as is today.
But the email lookup is only available in the SDK with that, right? There isn't like a direct.
Right now, yes.
Correct. Right
yes.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's coming, or
I mean, we heard you.
I
So
mean, yeah,
if
we
you
are
have-
loving
if
this
you have
version.
it,
Yeah.
we got a new requirement on our roadmap. Yeah.
An API and like an API-driven solution moving forward is definitely something that we're looking seriously at.
Yes.
So every time this credit card, the same credit card is used for different checkouts, is it a unique token or is it always the same?
It is unique. It depends. The same merchant.
No,
So it's
usually
uni-
it's a different merchant.
So you're talking about BYOP or is it PayPal processing?
so-
in,
A regular credit card. I'm just
in PayPal processing, it's unique. It's
It'll be
that token is something which this is PayPal checkout, or I'll say Braintree or PayPal ACDC unbranded. We give you guys a unique token or a nonce, and then that has a lifetime, and it expires after that lifetime. It's one-time use.
So that nonce, is it just the credit card information or does it have also like the total amount it's just a credit?
Yes.
But there's a few things you can do with that nonce, right? So you can exchange that for a network token if you're processing externally, or you can vault it and get a durable token. So the one-time token that we give you for every transaction from the SDK has a 3-hour lifespan. So if you wanted that to store in your system as a representation of the underlying credential, you would vault that and get a durable token, and that is unique to the merchant.
Yeah, but that could only be used for like subscriptions. So like if a customer, then we have to technically make a new payment.
Not necessarily. So if if you vault so if you get a durable token, you can at any time come back and exchange that for a network token and cryptogram if you have a cardholder present scenario. So that's how we're looking at loyalty accounts, right? Like we're not going to make somebody who already has an account with you, the merchant, go through the Fastlane user experience every time, because the fastest experience is going to be the stored credential. Like, do you want this? Yes, done.
You still need to make a call to them, yeah.
To get a cryptogram. Then that's a network requirement, right? Like you have to have a cryptogram whenever the cardholder is present. So.
And may I know what was your reason why you said that you're looking at the amount?
Just because I'm not remembering. Well,
Okay.
the Braintree SDK.
So yeah, so Fastlane, once you authenticate, we give you back nonces or tokens, like for a card, right? And within that nonce, you will see the card scheme, the last 4 digits. The merchant can paint his experience however he wants with that info. Then when the consumer completes the transaction, places an order, then the merchant is going to pass to our Braintree SDKs the transaction context along with the nonce. Right? So that is how we tie things, this nonce for this transaction, and then process the amount of that for the transaction.
And then the return case, if you have a durable token, when you do that, the cryptogram fetch, you provide a value there because the cryptogram is tied to a value, a sale value.
Loving the conversation. We have gotten kicked out. But we will be right outside. There's a booth right outside, and we're happy to continue any questions you might have.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.